All right, welcome back to another episode of Out of Bounds. This is episode 12, and today we're going to talk about my worst moments. Just roll the intro. Just doing great. Off to a wonderful start. Welcome back to another episode of Out of Bounds. My name's Danell Leyva. That's how you actually say it. I've been saying Danell to try and make it easier for everybody, but you know what? I'm kind of tired of doing that. My name is Danell. That's how you say it. Okay, moving on. Has nothing to do with the episode whatsoever. Today, we're going to be talking about my worst moments in competition, because I was talking to my mom recently and we were just kind of going off and talking about just the silly things that I used to do. Things that included forgetting all of my routines when I was training. Not only when I was training, forgetting my routines when I was competing. Literally, so many times. There's a video of me during a mock competition that we did at the gym when I was really, really young. And me and my best friend Dom, I think The Lion King had just come out, and we were like super, super stoked about it. And we were messing and playing around the entire time. And Yin came up to us, and he looked at us and he said, "You guys have to focus. You have to sit there and focus." And we were like, "Oh, okay." So we sat in a butterfly position, and we were like, "Oh." And he came over and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" He's like, "You said we had to focus. We were focusing." Oh, I don't know. It was a great video. But that ADHD that I had really didn't serve me while I was competing, because so many times, there was one point that I was literally supposed to be doing like a class 6 routine, which was like one of the lower levels. I think at this point it's like level 5. I was supposed to be doing a class 6 routine. There's the AC. Every time it makes an appearance. I was supposed to be doing a class 6 routine, just like level 5. I had been working in the gym towards competing Future Stars, and I was doing really good in Future Stars, and I think we had a competition or something coming up at some point, and so we were practicing it a lot. We get to this class 6 competition, class 5 or whatever, it's high bar, and that's the one that I was like really focusing on the most for Future Stars. And he puts me up, and I go and I start doing the routine, and I do it was like a completely wrong routine in comparison to what I was supposed to be doing. I did the Future Stars, and either the judges didn't even notice, which definitely they did, or they were just being really nice, because I actually did a really solid high bar routine, Future Stars routine, and they gave me a rather decent score. When I landed, I was like all excited. I was like, "Yeah, did you see that?" And he looked at me and he was like, "What was that?" I was like, What do you mean?" "My high bar routine. I did it perfect." He was like, "We're at a class 5 meet. That was Future Stars." And I was like, oh, whoops. He's like, "Yeah, they might not even count the routine at all." And I was like, again, it gave me a good score. Good score. One of my very first worst moments was actually either my very first or very second competition ever. I was just always goofing around in the gym. I had a lot of ADHD, so I wasn't ever really fully paying attention, rather focusing. I mean, remember, I was doing that to focus. I get to this competition and still goofing off and doing whatever. It's not really caring. We get to the awards, and everybody starts getting their name called, and they start going up and getting medals, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, why aren't they calling me? And I'm just sitting there chilling and watching all my friends and teammates going up and get medals, and I start like bawling my eyes out. They finally call my name, very last place on high bar. It was like the only thing that I actually probably made. I put the last place medal on me, and I'm like, "Ooh." Terrible. At the end of after all the awards and everything, Ian comes up to me and he's like, you want to get medals?" I was like, and he was like, "Yeah, felt bad, huh?" And I was like, I was like, "If you want to get medals, you have to start focusing and actually working towards getting better and trying to beat everybody in the gym, and then beat everybody when you go out." And I was like, really snot, like all the way down here. And so from that point on, I was like super focused. The second thing that happened when I was really, really young, again, this was it's interchangeable between which one was first, which one was second. I went to another competition, and on high bar, which again was always my best event. Part of the routine used to be like swing hop, and it was like, everybody would do like a little hop. I was 5 years old. People were like 6, and there was still like kind of hop. You can like barely see a little separation from the bar, but I used to do it like massive. I used to just like do it huge, even as like a little kid. And during this competition, I guess I just did a really awkward, weird tap, and it flinged me off the bar right as I was letting go for that hop. And I still remember it. I was like, "Gh," and I was like, ooh, and it was like just in slow motion. I started falling, and I landed so bad, which a scorpion, literally, like I landed on the mat with my chest and my face on the mat. And I still remember my feet hitting the mat in front of me of how hard I arched. I still finished the competition. It was fine. Just like, I was like, my wrists hurt. That was the only thing that I felt. It was fine. Fast forward. I mean, there was a lot of moments where I had to stop because I had asthma during training and things like that. But that's not as fun. In 2008, it was like one of my very first like big competitions where I was going to get to compete with like senior level athletes, right? Like the cream of the crop. Quite literally. It was such an incredible experience. It was like in either San Jose or San Diego. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember it was 3 senior team members and 3 junior team members. And the senior team members was Paul Hamm, which was the former Olympic all-around champion, Alex Artemov, which was like very well known for being the most beautiful pommel horse worker like of all time, and Raj Bhavsar, which he's just like very well known for being like super strong and just like literally never giving up. Actually, I always used to look up to Raj so much because of the fact that like he was always kind of pushed off to the side, and like finally when he got a chance, he went on to get an Olympic medal, and now he's like my boy. And Raj, if you're watching this, I miss you, man. I hope you're doing well. And so I was there competing, and I had just learned my Tkachev on high bar, and I was like super proud of it. And we were doing. It was one of the training days. It was the day of podium, but before actually going to the podium, earlier on in that day, we were training in the back gym. And I did the Tkachev and I missed, and I went to go land on my like hands and knees, and somehow I just kept rolling. I kept flipping in the air, and I landed straight up on my head and like rolled out of it. And I got up and I was like, whoa. The coach that was there, he was like, did you do that on purpose? And I was like, no. He was like, you all right? I was like, yeah, it should be fine. Half of my face went numb. I like started seeing like stars. Like I couldn't. Later on in the day when we had to go do podium, luckily I only had one event left, which was P-bars. I walked into the gym, and it was like the arena, and like the lights were like super bright. Like I couldn't even like open my eyes. I was like walking around. I was like this. My mom was there with her athlete, Jessica. She was competing for Colombia, and she stuck around. She had just finished her podium training, and she was going to stick around and watch me do mine because it was literally back to back. It was actually the first competition where I went where Ying wasn't there, so she was going to stick around and be like, she's in the stands. She sees us walk in, and she sees me being like, and she walks up to me and she's like, hey, how's it going? How are you? Like, are you all right? What's going on? And I was like, oh, nothing, just like, I have a headache. I definitely had a concussion at this point, like for sure. Like I just never got it checked because I'm fine. So I didn't even warm up. I didn't do anything. I think I like stretched a little bit. I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't. Like I was in so much pain. Like my head was like hurting so bad, and my neck a little bit too. I only had P-bars left, so everybody warmed up. They all did their thing. All I did was go up when it was my turn. I just made the bar, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a routine. And I did like a routine without warm up, and I did it like perfect. And I landed. And they're like, you're done. And I was like, thank God. A little bit later, Miles Avery, he was the head coach at that point for the team. He walks over to my mom, and he's like, hey, how's it going, man? Danell's he's a tough kid. And she's like, yeah, I know. Like he told me, like he has a headache, and he did a great routine on people. He's like, he just said that he has a headache. And she was like, yeah. And he's like, well, did he tell you what happened? And she was like, no, what happened? She was like starting to get worried. I was like, well, I mean, he was in the back gym and earlier today, and he was doing Tkachev, and he landed on his head. He like landed really bad on his head. He landed like on his neck and stuff. She was like, what? He was like, yeah. She called me over. She's like, why didn't you tell? I was like, fine, don't worry about it. I went on. I did like really well in the competition. I got like first in the all around and like a couple individual medals here and there. It was really great, but the whole time I got back home and like my neck was like so sore. It was hurting so bad. after the competition. I actually had to take muscle relaxants and everything. I digress. The next Pacific Rim Championships that I went to was in 2010, and it was in Melbourne, Australia. At that point, I was like really confident in myself, really confident in, like, in my all-around game and all that stuff. I went there, and the equipment that they had in Australia was not good. It was really, here's the thing. Maybe it's not that it wasn't good. It's just that I was definitely not used to it. I had never even trained on it, never even seen that kind of equipment ever before. And the floor specifically, man, it had like zero bounce in comparison to the floor that I was used to training on. And oh man, I had a really rough time. I never got to figure it out throughout any of the training. And when the competition comes around, I'm on floor, and I do my first pass, was just like layout double, and I land even shorter than the last video that I showed last week. Literally hands and knees, just boom. And I stand up and I'm like, well, all right then. The next pass was like a front layout double front, and I sat that down immediately. I literally fell on every single pass, I think maybe except one. Even on like my mana press, I fell on all of it. The very last pass I had to do was double layout, and I was there in the corner, and I was like really trying to hype myself up, and I was like, come on man, you got this, yeah, come on. And I like ran as hard as I could. My legs were like jelly. Run up against ring, double layout. I landed so short that I literally landed in a penguin slide. Just like, my hands were behind me and everything. Like, I just flat belly straight on the floor. Just like, that competition though was so weird. I'll give you some context. It was a senior level competition. There was like good international people competing at this Pacific Rim Championships. And I got third place on my worst event, which was rings. Third place. 2011 comes around, and that year, my goodness, that was also it was a great year, and at the same time, it was like just a hard year. I had some pretty nasty falls. And funny enough, two of the pretty nasty falls, well, the only two nasty falls, happened in Japan. And the first one was in a Japan Cup. It was like earlier on in the year during the summer. Just, I don't know, man. We just didn't do well. It was like a team competition. We didn't do well at all. Sho Nakamori like blew his knee out on his dismount on high bar. Literally right before I was supposed to go, he like landed and like everybody was like, I go up. I fall on, I don't know whatever. I get up, I try and finish the routine, and I'm tapping to do the dismount. And right as I'm about to let go, my grip snaps in half. I go flying. I land like flat again. I stand up before like anybody can be like, huh, and I'm like, I'm fine, I'm okay. Don't worry about it. Oh, I'm actually forgetting one. In 2010, during Rotterdam World Championships and one of the training days, I was doing, oh man, I fell 3 times in my career on the Lucan, on the bar, pretty hard. The first time wasn't too hard. The second time was pretty hard. Third time was also pretty hard. That was the last time I ever did it. But the first time was in 2010 World Championships in Rotterdam, where, again, let go really early, and I literally split the bar. I don't know how I didn't hit my bits, but I split the bar and like wrapped around the bar and like landed on the floor, and it was just like too much. In 2011, though, like literally a year later in the next World Championships in Tokyo, this is like my most famous video. This was like the first time I had ever gone viral. I was doing high bar. It was like the very last event of the all-around. I was supposed to be doing like so good, and I talked about this, where I just smashed my chin on the bar so hard, knocked myself out. The best thing about that whole experience is the fact that like I literally don't remember those 2 minutes that I was like on the floor. I thought the whole time, like I remember being in the air and being like, ooh, that was early. And then I remember seeing the bar and being like, ooh, here we go. And then I remember hitting myself. And then I remember standing up like that. I thought it was like, boom, boom, and then I stood up. And I had no idea that I spit a piece of my tooth out. Like people would come up to me and be like, oh man, look, let me see your teeth. And I was like, dude, back off. What? Like, did you chip your tooth? And I was like, no man, look, see, perfect. And then I saw the video and I was like, ooh, I did. By the way, it was a piece of my molar, if you guys are wondering. Got it fixed long time ago. In 2013, in 2012, during the Olympics, during the all-around finals, on my second event, I like messed up my pommel horse like really, really badly, to the point where it literally knocked me down to 17th place. and everybody definitely like completely ruled me out of the medal contention at that point. I worked my way back up and got a bronze, but like it was not looking good at that point. In 2013, during it was look at that, it was also in Japan. It was in, I can't remember where it was, but it was an all-around World Cup early on in the year. My shoulder, I had just hurt it like a little bit. I tweaked it a little bit, literally like a week before leaving. And I got there and I was like on pommel horse, and I was just on the training day. And I went to do something and I like pulled, and it was like, and I was like, I literally couldn't raise it. And he actually got really, really upset at me that I had hurt myself. He thought I had just like given up, and I was just like, whoa. I was like, yo, what? I can't lift it. I can't lift it. He was like, yeah, okay, all right. No, that's fine. No, if you didn't want to compete, would have never come. And I was like, it's broken. I can't do it. I can't. Actually, before that Tokyo World Cup, oh my God, this was so embarrassing. This is definitely the most embarrassing moment in my entire career. It was an American Cup. You got to remember, I had literally, first of all, the year before at the American Cup, I had just won. Then I went to the Olympic Games and I had just gotten bronze in the all-around. And then 2013, like obviously not even a year later, me and Jake were at this competition, and I bought some food at the lobby in the hotel, but it was like frozen. I still remember to this day. It was like this frozen chicken parmesan. I don't even remember if I ate it. I think I might have. It got me so sick that my stomach, like, I wasn't throwing up or anything. I didn't like have any of the dyes. You know what I mean? Diarrhea is gross. But my stomach was in so much pain. Like I was like curled over. Like I couldn't do anything. I had to get an IV at some point and everything. It was bad. It was real bad. So I was competing, and obviously throughout the entire competition, I was feeling like completely depleted of energy. Like I wasn't feeling good. Obviously, it was either my first event or it was my last event, but it was floor, and I was again like just not doing very well, and I was just like tired, dude, so tired. I went to go do my last pass, and I was like. And I run to go do it, and I literally stop in the middle and just like jog to the... I just jogged. I jogged from one end to the other. And I was just like, ugh. I almost started crying in the middle of the competition. I like turned around, I was like... I did my last pass, and I landed it, and I was just like... Dude... Oh man, that was so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Man, that was bad. For sure. I think that was like the peak though. Do you know what I mean? That was definitely like peak embarrassment. So bad. Just because there were so many things, so many factors that, like what I said, I just won the year before, and I was like the reigning American Cup champion. Oh yeah, another one that I did was in 2015 on high bar. It was such an awkward fall, and when people saw it, even still to this day sometimes, it's on YouTube, people look at it and they're like, oh yeah, his hand got caught, like he got grip locked, like, oh, that's terrifying, like luckily he didn't break his arm. But it wasn't that at all. What happened was that I was doing my routine. I was supposed to do it to Tkachev, and my right hand slipped off. It literally just completely pinged off the bar. And for me not to fly off and die, I gripped real hard with my left hand, and I just like flailed, and like funny enough, I hit like the side of my head, and the only thing that like hurt was my ear, because I kind of like pinched my ear, and I was like, ow. But that was another like really weird, really awkward fall. Actually, I had one in like 2012 where I almost like tore my knee on high bar in Winter Cup. I had a lot of high bar falls. Yeah, quite a couple of them for sure. The one that I talked about in the last episode, the two that I talked about in the last episode, one of them obviously was 2015 on my all-around finals at World Championships, where I just ate it on that first pass. I fell again on like my vault or something like that, and probably on pommel horse too, and again on high bar. that one was rough, honestly. And then again in 2016 when I fell in the team finals, which was like so devastating. I don't remember if I was crying that time, but in 2012 when we were like supposed to do really well, like everybody was expecting us to win, I was definitely crying. I remember there's a picture of Jonathan Horton like with his arms over me, like trying to console me, and I'm just like, but man, I've had some pretty here's the thing, I've had some pretty amazing highs, but I've also had some pretty epic lows, and I wouldn't be able to be here if it wasn't for those epic lows, because that's the ones that we learn from the most. You know what I mean? We learn from those that are just like completely ridiculous and completely hilarious at some point and embarrassing, but that's where you learn from. But those are my stories. So I asked you guys to send me your worst moments on Instagram, and today I'm going to be reading some of my favorites, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, I got some really, really good ones. Now, for those of you who are concerned, I am going to keep everything very anonymous, except for the one person. She's a good friend of mine. Her name is Cami. Hers are going to come at the end because they're absolutely hilarious. But some of these are really great. So this first one. The first time I ever drove, I ran into my brick wall while my neighbors were having a garage sale, and then the mailman drove by. This one's actually really interesting because this one says, in 3rd grade, I peed my pants and locked myself in the bathroom until my mom came. And I say it's interesting because obviously I grew up with ADHD, and a lot of times I would literally just forget to go to the bathroom, which means that a lot of the time I would pee my pants. A lot. It happened a lot. There was one time that I was filming with a couple of my teammates. We were filming the new routines for the new code. We were all really young. I was maybe 7 years old. And it was the first time any of us had ever seen a foam pit. And we were so excited and we were playing in it. And there was at one point that I was hanging on the rings above the foam pit. And my teammates grabbed the foam blocks and they were throwing it at me. And I was laughing so hard that I peed my pants and then I dropped into the pit. Jeff Robinson, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry, man. I'm sorry that I peed in your pit. He loves telling that story. I love telling the story only now in retrospect, but it's very embarrassing. This one said, a bout of diarrhea right before a swim meet. Oh, I can't even imagine. Oh, this one's good. I actually coached this person recently. It says, falling on my face on vault at literally every level 8 meet. Well, guess what? I literally just spent an entire episode talking about how many times I fell on my face in my elite career. So I think you're fine. This one's funny too. When I did a straight jump off the floor and sprained my elbow, I can't even understand the mechanics of that. You're on a flat surface and you did a straight jump onto another flat surface and somehow you sprained your elbow? This one actually happened to me a couple times, so I don't think you should be too embarrassed. But this one said, when I walked away with your Olympic medal after we met because I was so excited and nervous. Again, trust me, it happens way more often than you think. Okay, and now, my friend Cami, I love you, bud. I hope you know I'm gonna post all of these. She says, falling off resi mat and banging my head into the wall. Wasn't doing a skill, just standing. Also, arch-ups on vault table for conditioning. Fell under and hit my head on the leg of the table. What? Missing the beam completely on flight series. Hitting head on leg of beam. Staples in head. She says, I could keep going. Recurring head theme. Word count is cutting me off. I think those were great. I think those were really great. Thank you. Thank you so much. There is one more. This one just says cat. Okay. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share, and do all the things. Turn on the notification bell. I'm going to get out of here and get to editing. I love you guys. I'm out. Deuces.